general, Ron Lancaster, loses his battle with cancer.
Good evening. Rider Nation is in mourning tonight. Legendary quarterback Ron Lancaster has passed away after a battle with cancer. He was known as the Little General and led the Saskatchewan Roughriders to their first ever Grey Cup victory in 1966. In his 19-year CFL playing career, he rewrote the record books. Lancaster had survived a battle with bladder cancer, but was recently undergoing treatment for lung cancer. He was 69. Esther Madzia will have more on Lancaster's CFL career, from his years playing to coaching to the broadcast booth, then as an executive. We'll also have reaction to today's sad news later in sports.
All of Rider Nation and the CFL are mourning the loss of Ron Lancaster. The 69-year-old who battled and beat bladder cancer 5 years ago was diagnosed with lung cancer in July. Sadly, he lost his battle today. Well, our reaction to his passing starts with Global's Warren Woods in Regina.
You only have to visit Mosaic Stadium to see the impact Ron Lancaster had on the Rider organization, the community, and the province. Quite simply, he was an icon. He was the player future stars would be measured by. And even those who were longtime opponents remember how competitive he was.
Well, of course, I remember right back when I was coaching in BC, he was playing. And, you know, I remember one time, a little thing, it's not a big thing, but I said to Dick Zorn, as we were coaching on defense, I said, let's run a zone blitz on him. And I said, he won't read it. Zippo, he whips it right back in there. Zorn looks at me like, you gotta be kidding me.
I can remember the time that I hit him, and he kind of told me that that was the hardest hit he ever got. And he threw the football, and when he threw the football, he turned this way, and I came right up, you know, and hit him in the face there. Like I said, I saw stars, so I know he saw the galaxy. But the thing that amazed me, he got up, went back in the huddle, and was there the next play. If he had to throw the ball left-handed, he'd throw the ball left-handed and make a play and score a touchdown. So to me, you know, a guy like that who's dedicated his life to football, he's a great one.
There are some still working within the Rider organization who believe they owe their careers to Ron Lancaster. What Ivan Goodfriend and Norm Fong remember was just how much he cared.
I mean, he was a leader, and you know, and the team basically went how Ron Lancaster and George Reed and those guys went in those days. And so, but you know, he was a very tough individual, not only physically but mentally. And you know, in my opinion, in order to win a Grey Cup, that's what you have to have. I mean, Kent Austin was like that, and Kerry Joseph was like that. You have to be physically and mentally tough at that position to you know to be successful, and he was.
For me, it was the ability for Ron to make you feel part of his staff. He made a point of letting the players know that whether it was myself or Ivan or even the ball boy, that you were to show respect and respect our positions, and anyone that crossed him, he got rid of them, period. There was no question.
Rider players past and present have the utmost respect for Ron Lancaster. Not only those who are homegrown products, but those who had a chance to play with him and for him.
The very brightest thing about true leaders is the fact you can look into their eyes, you can see a kind and gentle nature. And that's what Ron Lancaster was all about. You know, he welcomed me into the fold. I was a young junior Regina Ram coming up through the ranks. And here's a guy who was notable American football player. And he treated us all the same. We are all his teammates, and he embraced me just like he embraced other young Canadians.
You know, it was an honor to play for him when I did, and then even more of an honor to play for him once I got here and realized, you know, kind of got to see the legend, you know, where he was, you know, where he did his work.
It's really too bad. It's a sad day. When I met him a few times, he's a first-class guy, and I remember at the Husky banquet a few years ago, he made a speech, and I had chills running down my spine, and there was a couple of standing ovations for him. So he's a great man.
He made a career out of adversity. You know, he wasn't the biggest guy. We're the smallest market, as I mentioned. Smallest market, smallest budget, smallest stadium. He was that little engine that could.
There was no quit in the guy. We talk about the 2008 Riders and how they seemed to have some fourth quarter heroics. Well, there was no shortage of that when Ron played. And, you know, just a little guy was never even close to being 6 foot tall, but tough as nails. So I think when you come to the realization that he's no longer with us, that he's lost this battle with cancer, there's almost a shock to it, because through life there were there wasn't very many challenges that he didn't overcome.
But there's no two ways about the fact that Ron Lancaster, if there was ever a guy who knew how to engineer the 3-minute drill and get a team down the field with his team down a few points, you can talk all you want about Brett Favre and John Elway in the States, and nothing to say against them. Those were great quarterbacks. But in the CFL, there was no parallel to Ron Lancaster.